Hey, Foot Clan, are you ready to upgrade your DFS game? The path to DFS dominance begins with the Ultimate DFS Pass at ultimatedfspass.com. You get expert advice, weekly DFS picks, premium reports, and a whole lot more for one low, season-long price. Check it out at ultimatedfspass.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Another great show on the horizon. Thursday, October 18th, the Fantasy Footballers, Andy, Mike, and Jason. We're back again, and I'm excited to talk Week 7. We got the fantasy forecast, the starts of the week. How you boys doing?
Doing great. Getting fit, getting energy.
You are, man.
Went to the gym this morning after playing basketball last night. Hyped.
You're busting your butt.
Yeah.
Tearing it up.
Jason is 36 years old.
Never thought I'd make it this far.
Congratulations.
And came out to play some basketball last night with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we held our own for mid-30s.
Yeah, I would say so. Shout out to Dre, our personal trainer, who played on the other team. How'd you do, 0-4?
Oh!
Get bodied.
I've learned some things in my life.
Uh-huh. That's good.
It's
a few things. And one of them is definitely the man who controls your physical training in your exercise regimen. It's never a good idea to publicly shame them and tell them to get bodied.
See, I had not yet learned said lesson. So
You're about to.
See,
right.
your personal trainer already is bodied.
That's true. He's
He's got a big body.
That's true.
And
About to set your butt on fire.
Shout out to Dre, the best personal trainer ever. I did not say any of what Jason just said. You can follow the show on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We're going to start with a game of Who Am I for the quick question today. Guys, it's been a little while. Let's see if you guys can guess this player based on these metrics, all right?
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've done Who Am I, and I love these.
I'm assuming that Brooks, producer extraordinaire, did not put the "Do you want to play a game" drop
No.
into the good prep work over there, buddy.
No, but he did prepare this Who
You
Am I.
have failed me.
All right.
That does
number-
upset me. That's my favorite drop. That's one of them.
Oh,
Ridiculous.
You've done this to yourself.
I guess we'll have to play it again. All right, clue number 1. I am the quarterback 13 in fantasy points per game. Okay. I'm the QB 13. Clue number 2. I've topped 300 passing yards in 4 different games this season, but have not thrown more than 2 touchdowns in any game. Okay?
All right.
All right. You ready for the next clue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to guess.
Clue number 3, I have thrown an interception in 8 consecutive games dating back to last season, including 2 last week. All right. Not the biggest clue there, but painting the picture.
Mm-hmm.
This one, maybe you'll guess after it. I have 203 rushing yards, tied for second
I got my guess.
among quarterbacks behind a certain... Behind Mr. Cam Newton.
All
so
right.
that's 4 clues.
Let me ask you a question.
No.
Does this man have a snake?
Nope.
Oh, darn it.
That's your way of guessing Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles, Blake the Snake.
No. He does not have a snake, man. Quarterback 13, top 300 passing yards in 4 different games, thrown an interception in 8 straight, has 203 rushing yards.
All those clues really seem...
I don't.
See,
Has Watson thrown
an
an interception in all those games? I mean, that's my guess.
You are correct.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, it is Deshaun Watson. When I heard it, he said the last clue was my ADP was the 4th round as the QB2.
Oh, that would have done it.
When I saw the clues and I saw that, I thought the QB2 off the board was Russell Wilson. So that was actually going to be my guess, but I know he hasn't been running to that degree. So, what do you think of that picture of Deshaun Watson there? I guess that fits with our
that's
regression thoughts before the season.
Watson is basically what I've expected for him this year, why I was completely off of his draft price, and the possibility of him busting or just being an average quarterback one was so great when you broke down the numbers. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, he's still going to have monster games.
Of course.
And I think people are down on him because of this last week, which was pretty putrid, but I still expect good games going forward from Deshaun.
It's funny because people were high on him because of the week before.
Right. Oh, we're a fickle.
Yeah, and well, I mean, what do you do with him though as an owner? Because here's what happens: if his average draft position was a 4th-round quarterback, which means he was one of the few that was drafted to be an every week start. Russell Wilson's in that category too. He's the QB 13 through 6 weeks, so you can kind of feel a little boxed into starting him. Are you guys firmly in the look? It's going to be a matchup situation. You know, if you have him and Big Ben, you know, you're playing matchups.
Now's the time to look elsewhere. He's playing in Jacksonville, I believe.
Ooh, yeah.
I know it's against Jacksonville. I think it's on the road, and so this is a great week to pivot. You know, I would play Jameis Winston. I would play Andy Dalton. I would play guys like that over Deshaun Watson without any hesitation whatsoever.
Agreed.
All right, we don't really have a whole bunch of news to get into today, so I think we'll do it this way. Rams coach Sean McVay confirmed that Cooper Kupp is out, O-U-T,
He gone.
for Week 7. Jason, you had a bit of news.
The Pro Football Doc has gone back to video evidence on Jack Doyle. It looks like he's probably not going to come back before their Week 9 bye, which makes me slightly regret my Eric Ebron pump. I didn't think that Doyle was back this week, but if we're waiting till Week 10, Week 11, if you're going to get another month of solid production out of Eric Ebron, I mean, it felt dirty from the get-go because I've been an Eric Ebron believer since he was drafted, and Eric.
Well,
usually we apologize for nothing. I apologize to you.
You generally like to put yourself in the position to be right in all circumstances.
All sort of hedge on both sides.
If Ebron does well, it's like, I've been saying this for years.
Yeah, but I did pump the brakes. Absolutely.
If Ebron does poorly, you pump the brakes.
That's right.
Don't forget, check out Mike.
You can't beat me no matter who you are.
You're a wise man. On Sunday, unless you're talking about like league of record, in which case you can't beat you. Sunday Live. Mike is on Periscope, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook Live, 1 hour before the Sunday kickoff, giving you last minute advice, news, questions, everything that comes across his brain in that hour, every bit of tilting he's doing for his own roster.
It gets a little weird on Sunday morning
because
it's just me talking into the camera.
I've noticed you're a little sweatier those mornings.
The filter is a little bit thinner as well.
It's a fun show. It really is. I have it on while I'm doing my Sunday morning rankings, and I'm always entertained and enjoy your analysis because I know Sunday mornings are a little bit more hectic in the Moore household. You're down here doing all your last-minute research. You've done all that prep work before going on, so I really appreciate it. And if you're out there and you have not checked the Sunday Live, yeah, it's really valuable.
Now, Mike, you're hopping on 1 hour before that London game, right?
Yeah, totally. I'll be there.
We'll be here, right? No,
5 in the morning.
Yeah.
That is our reminder here. We'll get into the forecast. I will mention this. All the injury news we'll have on In and Out tomorrow. So if we have any additional, we'll cover it in the matchups. But if we have updated news, that'll all be part of In and Out on the tomorrow show with the rest of the fantasy forecast. Let's get into it.
Fantasy Forecast.
Welcome back, Detroit and New Orleans, coming back from the bye. And then the Packers, Raiders, Steelers, and Seahawks are not playing in Week 7. They're all on bye. I know we were joking about the bye weeks in the NFL. Somebody, I wish I could give you credit, but somebody had a really amazing idea.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did.
It was every division goes on bye for 8 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
And that's 4 a week, and it works perfectly. And then you just rotate those weeks over the course of multiple years. So I thought that was like, yeah, that's pretty common sense. All right, guess what, Mike?
What?
We got a London game.
I mean, we had one last week, which was fine. But over here, on the West Coast. That means they're playing football at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, the Titans, 3-3, take on the 4-2 Chargers overseas across the pond.
That was really good.
That was
really
great.
good.
I mean, I'm really impressed.
Minus 6.5. That's where we're at with the Chargers. 6.5-point favorites, 45-point over-under. And like Mike said, that game gets kicked off at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. You know, just like the advice we give you for Thursday Night Football, which, by the way, is tonight. You know, don't have those London players in your flex position. Put them in their regular position so that you have flexibility moving on into the other games of the day. And just remember, you need to set those lineups early. Don't wake up and say, I've got my hour before kickoff, and then all of a sudden realize you left.
Oh, he's already started on my bench.
I mean, if any of the Titans start on your bench, you're probably
you
fine.
want to move them there now.
Yeah, you're not really regretting anything at that point.
Here's what happens in London so often. Huge blowouts. I mean, we've seen so many over the last 5 or 6 years. It's not always. Not every game is that way. But there's such an uptick on just monumental one team shutting the other out. A team didn't travel well. One team did. And I think we're going to see that this week. I'm pumping all my Chargers up, and I'm avoiding every Titan across the board.
That's fair. I mean, the Chargers are heavy favorites, and the Titans' offense looks atrocious, and it's trickling down to everybody. You cannot trust Deion Lewis or Derrick Henry or Corey Davis or Marcus Mariota right now. I mean, there is no one – and the Chargers' defense is improving week to week.
Right.
Now, news broke this morning. Joey Bosa's still out another few weeks, but they are getting better. He'll be back in time for the playoff push, and – look, Marcus Mariota's not even throwing the ball enough to make anything relevant. Even though he's throwing it poorly, pure volume's not working.
Yeah, and so specifically for Corey Davis, I expect he will be shadowed by Casey Hayward. Hayward has shadowed 3 times this season and completely shut people down. Kelvin Benjamin, Amari Cooper, and Antonio Callaway are the 3 guys that he has shadowed. They've put up a combined about 35 yards or so between the 3 of them.
Which 3?
Kelvin Benjamin, Amari Cooper, Antonio Callaway.
Yeah, they're covering themselves pretty good this year too.
Well, just saying,
I get it. Yeah, for sure. And you can't count on Corey Davis. He's not really even a flex consideration this week. I'd rather go after a guy like Jermaine Kearse, right?
Yes.
Or Christian Kirk tonight.
Yes.
I'd rather play over Corey Davis because of. You know, some news broke yesterday. Christian Kirk, 59% of his snaps outside, got the rapport with Rosen. Corey Davis right now is just a high risk wide receiver 1.
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, the only player on the Titans side of the ball that I would even consider if it's one of those, okay, I've got some buys issues, especially running backs are always thinner. I would consider Deion Lewis. I realize he has not been playing great, and nobody from the Titans has. But I think it will not be a close game. They'll be down, and hopefully Lewis is more involved. I saw Derrick Henry on the waivers in our League of Record.
Yep.
Yeah, I know who put him there.
Yep, I did.
And
that's right, I did it.
As a little bomb?
And I went, as a little bomb.
As a Henry bomb.
He is an interesting, tempting pickup. And as I'm looking at him, I go, this dude has had all the work necessary. Yes. He has gotten carries galore. I mean, 18 carries, 10 carries, 11 carries, different games, tons of carries. Let me ask you a question. Who has more fantasy points on the year? Tavon Austin or Derrick Henry?
Oh, gosh.
It's two-touch Tavon.
Chris Ivory or Derrick Henry?
Well, Ivory had that one big play, which is
play.
The equivalent of all of Henry's plays put together.
Kyle Juszczyk or Derrick Henry? I mean, the answer is always not Derrick Henry.
Wow.
Duke Johnson
had
a decent game. Ito Smith.
So
everybody.
You're starting Keenan Allen. He's going up against Malcolm Butler, who's given up the most passing yards since the beginning of 2017. That's a 22-game span of failure for Malcolm Butler.
Not good.
No. So is this Keenan Allen's big breakout game? Does he do it in London?
I think so.
I hope so. I think he has a fine game. I don't think it's the breakout.
And after last week, what do you feel? Austin Eckler had been kind of touchdown or bust, but had been doing it most often. Austin Eckler, is he flex worthy in this matchup?
I still think he is.
Eckler's never a guy I want to play. Always a guy that you can.
Yeah, the problem was 0 receptions.
Yeah.
This past week.
I was not good.
And I think you're going to be up in this game, which means he might get some of that fourth quarter
clean up
touches, but not the passing game, and that's where he always is so effective.
Yeah, I agree with that. Patriots 4-2 taking on the 3-2 Bears in Chicago. The Bears are 3.5-point underdogs. The game has a 49.5-point over/under, and here we are. Yesterday we talked about Sony Michel and James White. There was a listener question asking, is this Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in as much as I can start both guys every week? We all said, yeah, you can. You can start 2 guys in this backfield. You've seen this for years and years with New England. When it's a couple of players, you normally get a couple of players worth of value, Burkhead and White last year. We've seen it before. So if you have Michel, if you have White, start them up. How optimistic are we about the pass catchers in New England? And, can you start anybody beyond Edelman and Gordon?
I'm very intrigued by this because the Patriots are a team, we've seen them when they're going up against a defense that's just extremely stout against something, like against the run, which the Chicago Bears are very, very excellent against the run. They can't stop the passing game. We might see Tom Brady throw the ball 55 times. Andy.
Yeah?
Never mind.
Sorry.
Moving on. But regardless of that, like James White, he's going to see, 8 to 10 targets this week. The pass catchers. Too late!
I just want it to be horrible now.
I'm super pumped for Josh Gordon.
Did I get it? Did I get the?
Yeah,
nailed it.
Your timing was
hit the mark.
Impeccable. Josh Gordon, who finally earned his way into some serious snaps. And this is not to say I'm concerned with Sony Michel. I will still 100% play Sony, even if I think that his workload will be a little bit lower. The question is, with Gronk, what is the status of Khalil Mack, who got a little bit banged up this past weekend? Because if Khalil Mack is playing, then Gronk, I think, will have to block a little bit more, which is unfortunate because the Bears do give up touchdowns to the tight end position.
Yeah, it's a fair question. And I think that if, they haven't given up a touchdown to a running back this year. Do you realize that?
Who?
The Bears.
Whoa, wow.
None. No rushing touchdowns. So through 6 weeks, they faced Jamal Williams. They faced the Packers running backs. They faced Seattle. They faced David Johnson. The Tampa running backs, the Miami running backs. So it hasn't been, an assortment of world beaters. But it's kind of something's got to give here where Sony Michel, despite being a rookie and having his workload increase progressively, he's still second in the NFL in red zone attempts.
Yeah, he's got the money position of the goal line back for the Patriots, super lucrative. But
maybe you do see more opportunity for Gronk in the red zone if they're stout in that department.
The interesting thing is, on the opposite side of the ball, the Patriots have only allowed 1 rushing touchdown this year. They've allowed they're stopping huge games from the running back position. I'm not interested in Jordan Howard this week. Of course, you might have to play him. This is not a bench Jordan Howard. It's crap, I have to start Jordan Howard this week.
Yeah, I do. And that's not. It doesn't feel good. You're hopeful with a blindfold on because you're scared of what you're going to see. Tarik Cohen, this seems like a better matchup for him in a against the high-scoring Patriots. You would rather have the pass-catching back that, you just said. They've only given up 1 touchdown on the ground. So if I had to pick between those 2 guys, I lean Tarik Cohen for this matchup. It's not rest of season, but here in this game, that's how I lean.
7 receptions each of the last 2 games, 17 targets in that span. And they've been successful when utilizing him in the offensive scheme. I think you do. I like Tarik Cohen this week. I think the matchup bears it out with the Patriots as favorites. Anything else you want to talk about with the Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I was going to say highlight the Bears pass catchers. They're all okay plays. I don't think anyone's a standout. If I have to pick of the 3, I lean Anthony Miller, who should see his coverage against Jonathan Jones. And if I'm attacking any of the cornerbacks on the Patriots, That's where I'm going to go.
Obviously Allen Robinson would be the number one target.
He's the alpha, but
yes, I'm always going to take the targets over the high upside. But if we're picking a sneaky snart, and this is not just in this game, I think this is, league wide, one of the people on my radar for a sneaky snart, as we say, is Taylor Gabriel. I mean, we've seen the Patriots get beat with speed. Taylor Gabriel, as we've established, still fast.
He's been getting it done, over 100 yards each of the last 2 weeks.
He's got the targets and the opportunity. I think he could end up with a big game.
If you had Josh Gordon and Allen Robinson, who would you play?
Josh Gordon.
Okay. If you had Marvin Jones or Josh Gordon?
That's much closer because I do like Marvin Jones.
I have
this
Marvin
week.
Jones one spot ahead of Josh Gordon.
Exactly.
John Brown or Josh Gordon?
Oh,
wow. John Brown
it's John Brown.
John Brown's a great play this week.
Against the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah,
we might talk about him a little bit
John
more.
Brown. Aye.
You guys have decided to, we got starts of the week coming up. All right, the 2-4 Bills take on the 1-5 Colts. This one's going to be fun. Colts 7.5-point home favorites in a game with only a 43-point over-under.
Yeah, this reminded me, if you are a defensive stasher, the New England Patriots will be playing the Buffalo Bills next week.
Very smart.
If you got a burner, you might as well be prepared because the Patriots are going to shut down the Bills next week.
Yeah, the Bills are going to start Derek Anderson. Maybe you've heard of him. He's been a perennial backup for the past 10 years. Look, if you don't know Derek Anderson, then you don't remember Braylon Edwards and Derek Anderson.
Oh, they did have an awesome year together.
From like 9 years ago or whatever it is. So we'll further dive into this matchup. I will pause for a second and say thank you to SeatGeek. Mike is heading out to the Cardinal Thursday night game.
That's right, bringing
tonight.
the boy.
And look, there's no easier way to grab a ticket than SeatGeek. The Suns, they started their season out here in Phoenix last night. I had a friend, SeatGeeked his way to a couple of cheap tickets. Got to watch the Suns win game one. Look, getting tickets online can be far too complicated with the hundreds of different sites and different reliability, blah, blah, blah. You don't trust everybody. You can trust SeatGeek. You get 100% reliable tickets at the best possible price. They do all of the searching for you. They make it as easy as possible. Every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you don't have to stress out. It's just easy. You want to go to a game, you open the SeatGeek app, 2 tabs later, you got tickets. Done deal. You're finished. So best of all, our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code Footballers today. That's promo code Footballers for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek. Life is an event, and we have the tickets.
Want to thank Quip for sponsoring today's show. One of the most important things we do for our health every day is brushing our teeth, yet most of us don't do it properly. Quip is a better electric toothbrush created by dentists and designers. They got these sensitive sonic vibrations. It's gentle on your sensitive gums, and the built-in 2-minute timer pulses every 30 seconds to remind you when to switch sides, guide you to a full and even clean. It doesn't require a clunky charger. Instead, it runs for 3 months on one charge. I've got the Quip. I've had my Quip for well over a year. I love it. They're sending me clean heads, clean brush heads, all whenever I need them. They're keeping my teeth right. They're keeping it tight. Love Quip, and they're backed by over 20,000 dental professionals. Quip starts at just $25. If you go to getquip.com/footballers right now, you get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/footballers.
All right, Derek Anderson. By the way, that was 2007 when he had a relevant NFL season. 2007 was the 29 touchdown season. He's had 7 touchdown passes in the NFL over the last 7 years. That's where Derek Anderson is.
So he's good for 1 this week is what you're saying.
He might be good for 1. But look, on the Buffalo side of the ball, regardless of whether it's Nathan Peterman or Derek Anderson or Josh Allen, there's only one man and one man alone that you can be interested in as a fantasy owner, and that is the player that has 35 touches over the last 2 weeks, 202 total yards, LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, he's the only locked and loaded player from the Buffalo Bills. I will say, look, this is deep. This is a much deeper play But Derek Anderson has been friendly with the tight end position, and Charles Clay is known as Mr. Necessary on this show. He does have, in 2 of the past 3 weeks, he has at least 5 or more targets. What I remember about Derek Anderson is when he was the backup for the Panthers, and he would produce with Greg Olsen, and then Cam Newton would come in, and Greg Olsen would do nothing. So that's just where that's coming from. I know it's a deep shot. Maybe it's more of a DFS type of a play, but just mentioning his name for people to look out for.
On the Colts side of the ball, Andrew Luck is playing at a very high level for fantasy owners. He's been turning the ball over a little bit, but
a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of it. But look, he is making the best with what he has right now, which has been Eric Ebron, which has been Chester Rogers, which has been Ryan Grant. Now, Ryan Grant's not practicing this week. T.Y. Hilton is practicing in full.
Huge.
And, look, no one's been better pretty much in football than Andrew Luck. I like the matchup at home. I know the Bills have been playing well. We'll talk more about Andrew Luck in a little while.
Yeah, so Andrew Luck is great. With T.Y. Hilton, there is a little bit of worry I have with Hilton. I'm glad he's back. I think he's going to be unbelievable. We said trade for T.Y. Hilton. I agree with all of that. This isn't necessarily the best week. First week back from an injury. Probably he'll be shadowed by Tre'Davious White, who has done good work on Devontae Adams, Corey Davis, and DeAndre Hopkins. So it's not a perfect situation. First week back from injury against a good cover corner.
He also might not be 100%.
Exactly.
I mean, he said his own quote was, me at not 100% is still better than most people.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give you confidence.
I like his confidence.
That re-injury can't happen. I think it's a middle-of-the-road start with Hilton. Would you rather start Allen Robinson or T.Y. Hilton this week?
I would rather start Allen Robinson because of the injury. I want that week buffer because what I don't want to have happen is have T.Y. Hilton come out, re-aggravate something, and give me a goose egg.
Are you willing to start?
I'll play Hilton.
Are you willing to start Chester Rogers this week, Mike? With Hilton back in a game where, look, the Colts low over-under.
Yeah, I guess if you're absolutely desperate, but
Christian Kirk or Chester Rogers?
Christian Kirk. Here's the first 3 weeks. When T.Y. Hilton was actually playing, here's what Chester Rogers was doing. 3 receptions, 2 receptions. All 3 of those matchups under 20 yards.
Yeah, that's not great.
Hilton's the alpha of this team. The passing game goes through him, and will go through Eric Ebron.
Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, and company in the backfield. Mack last week had a great game statistically on the way back. 87 yards rushing on I think 12 carries. Nyheim Hines has been pushed to the sideline. This is not a game where you're looking at the Colts having to come back necessarily. So Nyheim Hines, I do not feel confident starting this week.
You cannot start Hines. Not in this match.
Yeah, this is the game script. If this is the game script for Marlon Mack. You expect the Colts to be winning 7.5-point favorites at home.
Just 3 carries last week for Hines with Mack back, just 2 receptions.
Yeah, Mack.
And that was a game they lost.
In certain situations, Mack will lose playing time because when the Colts are coming back, it's still Hines. That's what they did last week. But this week, I'm not expecting them to be coming back. So Marlon Mack is interesting.
Nyheim Hines or Duke Johnson rest of the season?
Duke Johnson.
Wow.
I answered too quickly, but I still think it's Duke Johnson.
I think it's Duke Johnson as well.
It's probably Duke Johnson, but the possible emergence of Nick Chubb gives me hesitance.
I don't think Chubb would really eat into what Duke Johnson's role is and what he's successful at. Those two actually complement each other really well.
It's the possibility of a 3-headed timeshare. That's all I'm talking about. Where Hines' role
doesn't go away.
Hines' role is secure to me. If they're coming back, they go to Nyheim Hines.
All right, the 3-3 Texans take on the 3-3 Jags in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a 4.5-point favorite. It's a 42.5-point over/under. You guys were talking earlier about the kind of troublesome matchup for Watson, right? Watson was the who am I. If Jacksonville struggles at home this week, their defense, another 30-point plus defensive failure. Are we going to stop looking at them the same way?
We should. If that happens for another week in a row, yeah, you have to stop just viewing them as this lockdown, can't play against them, because they haven't. And we've talked about this before a lot. It's just such a different team with Leonard Fournette and without Leonard Fournette. They can't run the ball as well as successfully with T.J. Yeldon, who is a little banged up right now.
Yeah, he did return to practice, but he is dealing with his own injury.
So, if their offense has to run through Blake the Snake Bortles,
it's not been able to.
It's not going to be great for their defense.
I don't think Bortles really gets back on track until we see Fournette back in the lineup. It's been a struggle for him I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him step up even drive to drive when they need something. T.J. Yeldon's banged up on this offense right now. I think this game's going to be under that 42.5 points. I think it could be a very low-scoring game. I don't have confidence in any pass catchers in Jacksonville. People want to know, do you start T.J. Yeldon, right?
I still start him.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
But he's really banged up. Jamal Charles could see some actual work this week. I think 10 to 12 touches for Jamal Charles is in the cards. And Yeldon is not an elite enough talent where he doesn't need the volume to give you that production. So I'm a little bit scared about Yeldon being a trap in this game against that front for Houston. DeAndre Hopkins, people may be concerned about Jalen Ramsey.
You still play him.
Will Fuller's been struggling.
Yes.
Immensely.
The emergence of Kiki QT to Will Fuller has really been devastating. 3 targets the past 2 weeks for Will Fuller. I mean, he needs more than that. I know he's a one-play guy. He's a one-touch man, but we got to get him some more volume. The coaching staff said they're not really sure why Will Fuller's not getting targets. Classic coaching talk there, where I just don't know what's going on with my team. I don't know why he's not getting targets.
Had a bit of a hamstring problem.
Yeah, so I'm not really interested in Fuller or QT, at least as high-level plays this week. The Jaguars they're still limiting big plays, which makes me not excited for Will Fuller. And I know that Dak came in and had a big fantasy game, but his numbers were not outrageous. They were good for fantasy purposes.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the 2-3 Lions taking on the 4-2 Dolphins. This game's in Miami. This is interesting. So, are the Dolphins? Is that right? Let me check that line again.
They're 3-point dogs at home.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
Brock Osweiler.
Yes, okay, that is why. Yeah, I had a 1-point spread. Maybe it's up to 3 now. But yeah, Brock Osweiler is going to be the starter again for Miami. Despite the victory last week, Vegas not expecting a repeat Brock performance.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, 380 yards passing, most of that Albert Wilson yak attack. What are you looking at in this matchup between the Lions and the Dolphins? What are the big decisions for fantasy owners?
I think one of the big decisions is going to be Kenyon Drake, because he's always on that bubble of, can I start him? Can I not start him? And I believe this is a matchup where you can. The Detroit Lions have been pretty good against wide receivers, pretty poor against running backs. Maybe that actually speaks more to Frank Gore.
I was just going to say, would you rather start Drake or Gore? Because I would rather play Frank Gore.
That depends to me on if I'm a favorite and I look like this is an easy matchup. I'm going up against a loser of a team, then give me Frank Gore. Give me the sure carries against a porous defense.
11 carries, 12 carries, 15 carries.
Exactly.
His workload is going up.
But he still is not that good. I mean, genuinely. He's had a couple – I know he's had a couple really great games where he's broken through, but he's also shown games where he hasn't. And so
6.7 a carry, 5.2 a carry, but when you say not that good, you mean it in the fantasy context. He's not bringing you a lot, not on the field context.
He's not blowing up, and I do think Drake still has the higher ceiling this week in this backfield. So if I need to swing for the fences, I would lean Drake. But this is a week where you can look at the Dolphins running backs, I believe.
It's the one Gore only has 4 receptions on the year, so that's why those numbers aren't up. Drake will catch the ball. Still needs to break a play. Albert Wilson, you chasing points with Albert Wilson?
I'm okay with it. Look, Albert Wilson, his cornerback matchup is not terrifying this particular weekend, so it feels really, really like the futile chasing points, but I'm okay with him in your flex.
How confident are you in Kerryon Johnson on the other side at the running back position? Kerryon coming back from an injury. The Dolphins have missed a tackle on 27.9% of rushing plays. That's the worst in the National Football League. Yes. They've been very bad against the run, and but they are at home, and Kerryon is a bit of a wild card. I know that you love him, Jason.
I do.
You would marry him if you could.
Yeah, I've been waiting. I said this is going to be a second half of the year player who has shown very well. Every time he touches the ball, he looks clearly like the best back on the team. Theo Riddick has been missing some practices. Kerryon, yes, he left the previous game with an injury, but he had an entire bye week. He's practicing in full. We're actually going to talk about him in a little bit. I think that this could very well be the breakout game for Kerryon. I am extremely confident in starting Kerryon Johnson this week. The matchup does not scare me. The opportunity coming out of the bye with the rookie to get more work is a common thing that we've seen before, and I think he will lead the team. And we saw last week before he got injured, he was the starter. He came out and started that game. Had he not got injured, I think the breakout would have been 1 week before the bye. So I think it's coming this week.
Oh, it's so smooth.
Let's talk about Kenny Golladay.
Kenny G.
And his friends, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones.
Kenny Golladay.
How smooth will it be for those three?
I'm interested in playing all of them, regardless of the Dolphins. Their metrics against fantasy wide receivers, they're 13th. So, on paper, it seems
if you're not one of the elite great or the elite bad, it's just you're an NFL defense.
Kenny Golladay averaging over 8 targets per game. Golden Tate is being overshadowed by what Kenny Golladay is doing because Golden Tate has been incredible. 51 targets, 33 receptions, 430 yards. He's leading the team. He's a great play. Marvin Jones was the man last year. He is the third option on this team.
Would you play Tate or Golladay? Galladay's been more consistent than Tate. Tate's had the one monster game.
I would still play Kenny Golladay over Golden Tate.
I would lean Tate, but I can get the argument for a higher ceiling.
We're gonna get you eventually on the Kenny Golladay train.
I don't know why
Jason.
you think I don't love Kenny Golladay.
Why don't you love him?
My belief in Golden Tate is not mutually exclusive from also liking Kenny Golladay.
So at some point you might like him?
Someday.
You always have a hesitance.
I do have a hesitance. And the hesitance is not Kenny Golladay. The hesitance is Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. You can't always know where that ball is going to go. So I'm going to go to the guy who's the number one target, who's worked into more of the screen game, who's a great yak guy, who's done it for the last 4 years. He's always a 90-reception, 1,000-yard guy.
Kenny Galladay's a 4 for 80, and hopefully he scores guy.
Yes.
But he's good. He's good. Reminds me a little bit of I've heard the comparison to a even stronger A.J. Green type of body.
Yeah.
You see him make those hands catches at the top.
Watching
not as refined of a route runner as Green, but he's got positional.
Yes.
Or, I mean,
he's sturdy.
Yeah.
Watching the film on Kenny Golladay can get you real hyped because some of those catches he makes are just they're awesome. I mean, you worded that beautifully. Like his body positioning is exactly what you need as a wide receiver, and that's great for any wide receiver. But then when your body positioning is that on point and your body is what is he like 6?
He's a monster.
He's like 6'3". Like then it's really hard to defend.
Well, and we may have to 6'4", 214. You might have to readjust your view of him in terms of trades and things like that because cashing in on him could be a mistake.
Agreed.
The 3-2-1 Vikings take on the 3-3 Jets. The Jets are at home. They're only 3-point dogs in this one. They've been playing very, very well.
Yes.
46.5 point over-under. And I want to start with Dalvin Cook because this is the headline news for everybody. He practiced in full again this week. I had somebody DM me this morning. They said, TJ Yeldon or Dalvin Cook. Why would you all say Yeldon? Because that's where our start-sit tool right now on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, that's what it says.
It's just hesitance of, is Dalvin Cook actually playing? Because we saw this last week. Dalvin Cook was practicing in full, and then they decided the best thing for him is to sit down. I think he'll play.
But you had
week?
pitch count Dalvin Cook the week before,
right,
which killed fantasy owners. You had a really good week from Latavius Murray, and you have a situation where hamstring re-injury is a possibility. That's why I lean Yeldon as well. If you need a baseline of points, 10 points, it feels safer in the hands of TJ Yeldon.
Dalvin Cook is currently, and this is a hedge against injury, is currently my running back 44 because the idea of playing him terrifies me. You know, if you played him a couple weeks ago when he was dealing with this injury and re-aggravated it, he has the potential, kind of like I was saying with Hilton, when you're coming back from an injury like this, a hamstring, you just have the potential to goose egg or give you 1 or 2 points, and those things dive bomb your week. All of a sudden, now a matchup that you would have rather just gotten 8 points if you could have just got a good game. Now you've got to make up somewhere else. You got to get lucky with stupid kickers because you had a guy go out, and I don't necessarily think that the upside is there for this week. I don't think they're going to have him come in and touch the ball 20-plus times, and he's going to have a just monster Dalvin Cook game. So I'm hesitant to start him.
Yeah, I hear you. Adam Thielen, number one fantasy wideout. Stephon Diggs, you can play him.
The Jets are giving up the most yards in the league to slot wide receivers. Adam Thielen, about to hit his 7th straight game.
He's just been unbelievable. I mean, the target totals
yards
are incredible.
Can it count as 8 straight games this week if he hits 200 yards? Is that how can we count? All right,
yeah,
you get to bank him.
You can bank him for next week. Look, Sam Darnold's been playing well, averaging 17.2 yards per completion on 3rd and long this season. That's second best in the league. Making plays is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you've got Jermaine Kearse, and I just got a feeling about Jermaine Kearse, man. I just feel good about him. I told you I'd spend fab dollars on him. You've got an injured Quincy Enunwa who won't be playing. You have Terrell Pryor who hasn't been practicing. And even Robbie Anderson has been banged up, just returned to practice today. So Jermaine Kearse is, to me, he's a guaranteed 12 targets in this game.
Yeah. I have hesitancy with Kearse this week, just because of the matchup.
The matchup is actually great for Jermaine Kearse. Mackenzie Alexander, who will be guarding the slot position for the Vikings. Similar to Adam Thielen versus the Jets in the slot, Kearse is very safe to me this week.
Yeah, I guess where I come from is it, you know, will they be shadowing Robbie Anderson, or do they not see Robbie Anderson as that good? Because, you know, Xavier Rhodes has been great. He's one of the few shadow corners. They usually use him almost every week to truly lock someone out, and I just don't know if they're
not going to do that to Kearse. Kearse is going to move around.
No, I know.
Yeah.
He's talking about Robbie.
I'm saying I don't know if they're going to do that to Robbie Anderson. And so if they use him in a different way.
No, I think you have to put Xavier Rhodes onto Robbie Anderson. You have to try and stop the big play. The Vikings defense, they're allowing 20-plus yard completions on over 13% of passes. That's 3rd worst in the NFL. Big plays are killing the Vikings, and you cannot allow Robbie Anderson to do that.
Well, we're going to talk about Jermaine Kearse a little bit more in a minute. So I've decided to pivot a little bit. Let's get into it.
Starts of the week.
Well, let's start there. Let's start at the wide receiver position. I did want to give a little pat on the butt to Robert Woods. He's the 6th-ranked wideout right now. You probably don't need me to tell you he's a start.
Nope.
With Cooper Kupp out. So I'm not going to. But what I will say is I'd start Woods over Michael Thomas if I had to make that decision. That's how high I am on Robert Woods this week.
Oh, if you could see Brooks' face. He just ate a lemon, including the rind.
This is true. But my start of the week is Jermaine Kearse against Minnesota. This is a game that is built for a peppering of comeback targets for Jermaine Kearse. The Jets defense is not going to stop Minnesota. Sam Darnold's going to have the game in his hands every week. He's getting a little bit more control of the offense, and I think Jermaine Kearse is a solid start this week. Who do you got as your start of the week, Jason?
I've got John Brown.
Yeah.
Give me some smoke because, look, Smokey has been on fire this year. I know he had a little bit of a down week this week. Every wide receiver.
The last 2 weeks.
It does not matter if you are Antonio Brown or anybody so far not named Adam Thielen. You will have down weeks at the wide receiver position, especially when you are the deep threat guy. But his air yards have been out of control, and the matchup is perfect against New Orleans. He's going to be going up against Ken Crawley. It is a major the matchup specifically with that cornerback, John Brown's skill set will torch him. I think that New Orleans will be able to score in a way that Baltimore has. Baltimore's been shutting people down. Their defense is great, but New Orleans' offense will get it done enough to where they're going to need to air it out, and people have been beating them. I don't think Marcus Lattimore is going to be an issue for John Brown. I think that's more of a Michael Crabtree guy. I'm starting John Brown if I've got him this week.
Yeah, he's, like you said, he's the A-dot master, and the New Orleans Saints are allowing a very, very deep targets, so it's a perfect marriage.
A-dot is average depth of the target.
Yes.
In case you haven't
thank you.
heard the slang.
Thank you.
Mike, you've got an interesting name. I struck out on him last week as the start of the week, so good luck to you.
It is funny you mentioned that because every time I hear ADOT, we're in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's the Arizona Department of Transportation. Like, you see ADOT everywhere, so it's like, it's weird.
Everyone's playing fantasy. My wide receiver start of the week is Jarvis Landry. Cleveland Browns going against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 6 teams, 6 defenses in the league have allowed 10 or more touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. One of those teams is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have only played 5 games compared to the others who are playing 6. I think this is when Baker Mayfield and company get things back together. The Bucs are just hemorrhaging points to the wide receiver position, and I think that Jarvis will be the biggest beneficiary of this. This is the week. This is the week that everyone was waiting for Jarvis.
Yeah, I thought that was last week. I'm just so scared because something isn't working, like between Baker and Jarvis.
Yeah,
and I keep leaning on the matchup, so I know. I'd be
the
starting
engine's
it.
about to turn up.
Yeah,
we'll see. A lot of times when teams fire their defensive coordinator or their offensive coordinator, that first week is a little bit.
They rally.
They rally.
Yeah.
And so
good luck.
There's 2 things that just make me slightly worried there. The ankle with Baker, I want to make sure he's able to move around and be mobile, and that rallying. But other than those 2 things, which are kind of narrative.
Who got fired?
Didn't they fire their defensive coordinator?
Tampa Bay,
I thought so.
Yeah, I got you. I thought you were talking about the Cleveland side.
No. So, I have a little hesitancy there, but it's got to happen. I mean, come on, Jarvis.
If it doesn't,
you got to bless him.
If it doesn't, there's going to be some panic in the streets.
Yes.
All right, the running back position, I'm going with Tarik Cohen against New England.
Love it.
Game script, recent performance. No reason to not believe in Tarik right now. And look, New England can give up a big player too. They didn't deal with the speed of Tarik. I don't think they're going to deal with the speed of Tarik, the dinosaur
Tarik.
hunter.
Tarik.
Sorry, Tarik. So Tarik Cohen, my start of the week. Jason. Well, hold on. Let me just.
Hit it!
Carry on my wayward son.
Start him.
Call him for the breakout.
I am calling for the breakout. I have him this week as my running back 12.
Whoa!
I believe it's going to happen. Look,
Man.
The guy has been on fire. He's averaging 5.72 yards per carry. The matchup is great. He's coming off of a bye with a hobbled Theo Riddick.
That's the biggest thing for Kerryon Johnson to me is they had the bye week. You had a long time you could rest a player, and then Wednesday, Theo Riddick had to sit out of practice. And if Theoretic is not there to soak up the targets, Kerryon Johnson's floor goes way up.
I believe Kerryon Johnson has north of 15 touches in this game, total, between rushing and passing.
North being up.
Yes, that is correct. If you have a map, north is up. And so if he gets more than 15 touches, he's going to have a fine game.
Yes.
He's not going to bust. He's not going to be bad. He's going to be a startable asset. But he has the ability to also have a blow-up game. So that's
Why not, Jay? Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm pegging him.
Mike, you're running back.
I'm going with Phillip, Lindsay. He pushes the microphone away in disgust because he cannot make a decision on who he's going to start.
You guys have both made my two flex options, John Brown and Phillip Lindsay, your starts of the week. I mean,
well, either
you get into Phillip Lindsay, and then I'm going to ask Brooks to make a decision.
Either we're giving fantasy advice, or we're just
trolling me.
Playing mental warfare against your team. But the Arizona Cardinals they're giving up the most points to the fantasy running back position. They can't stop anyone. Latavius Murray, who has looked atrocious. He came in and said that was his best game of all time, right?
Yeah, career high in rushing yardage.
The Cardinals are putrid against running backs, and even with the timeshare with Royce Freeman and company, I still think that Phillip Lindsay it should be locked in as a running back too for your team.
If by chance they are getting boat raced and the quarterback changeover happens, and Mr. Chad Kelly makes his way on the field, does that change your outlook to the offensive strategy or how they use the running back or anything?
They'll probably use the running back even more.
Yeah, no.
I agree with everything you're saying in the matchup. I lean towards Royce Freeman, but I would start both players.
Brooks, who do I start in my flex? John Brown against New Orleans. Great matchup. Phillip Lindsay against Arizona. It's basically they're facing the worst against that position. So is John Brown against the worst at the position better than Phillip Lindsay against the worst at the position?
I barely go John Brown.
Yeah.
So this is one of those, we give advice all the time. Those players, I like John Brown more than Phillip Lindsay. Andy is a very heavy favorite playing a team that, he should beat. That's where I would go Phillip Lindsay because the floor is higher. John Brown could explode.
That's who I have in there.
But he could also have 2 receptions for 34 yards.
My start of the week at the tight end position, I'm going to go ahead and stack Andrew Luck, my quarterback start of the week, with Eric Ebron. Oh, I guess we didn't go through quarterbacks yet, did we? So I'll give you both.
Spoiler!
I'll give you both. Eric Ebron is my tight end. Andrew Luck is my quarterback. I want to give you a vote of confidence in Andrew Luck. He's been the number 2 quarterback over the last 3 weeks. He's also playing against a defense that's third best against the quarterback position, which could be troublesome. Not a high over-under, but I think Andrew Luck gets it done this week regardless, and he does it in part thanks to Eric Ebron and his torrid touchdown pace. I think Ebron's good for another touchdown in this one, which will be number 7 on the year for Ebron. Quite the season thus far. Look, start both those guys against Buffalo despite their ascendant defense.
My tight end start of the week is C.J. Uzomah, available on plenty of waivers and should have
Bengals tight end.
Bengals tight end, yes. Maybe you don't know who C.J. Uzomah is. He is the next man up after the Tyler and Tyler twin tight ends have gone down for the Kansas City Chiefs, for the Bengals. The Kansas City Chiefs, their opponent, where they will be this week, they have not been able to stop the tight end position in general. It has been since week 1, so 5 straight weeks in a row that they've given up at least 74 yards to the tight end position, which is a lot. I mean, you're talking most of the weeks 97, 92, 86. How about 164 yards in week 2? So given that they are giving up a lot to the tight end, which, their defense is giving up a lot to all positions because their offense is scoring and the other team has to come back, and the fact that C.J. Uzomah is now the only cat in town at the tight end position, stack that with Andy Dalton's propensity to throw to the tight end position, not only between the 20s but also in the red zone, I think C.J. Uzomah is very safe with a high ceiling. I like him. I would start him over a lot of options this week.
And your quarterback?
My quarterback, I am telling you, if you had a down week last week from Jared Garf, King Garf. He was awesome last week in a putrid fantasy performance. Yes, he scored fewer than 10 fantasy points, but if you watch the game, they just didn't need him. He was lights out. He was playing great. Todd Gurley was just rushing for over 200 yards, got all the touchdowns. It was not a big worry. Goff has been unbelievable against San Francisco. They're 28th against the quarterback position. Goff's going to get a couple long bomb touchdowns. You're going to be super happy you started Jared Goff. Don't be too overreacting from the last week and a half.
A lot of people bitter with Jared Goff last week.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I mean, on Twitter, that was probably one of the top 10 things I saw reaction-wise. People played him. They were disappointed despite obviously the big win. Mike, your quarterback and your tight end.
So my quarterback start of the week, I'm going to go with the red rifle. I'm going to take Andy Dalton, who's in the matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's both. This is matchup and quarterback who is playing very, very well. Andy Dalton, I mean, he's been a multi-touchdown machine this season, and the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, they score a lot of points, so it just absolutely makes sense. And then the tight end, I have two here because Evan Engram, I want him to be my start of the week, but he's on Monday night. So it could be difficult for some teams to lock into Evan Engram and be ready to go. The matchup is great. I think that Eli Manning, who is my stream of the week, is going to come to life. Evan Engram could shock you, though, as being a surprise out. He is on track to play Monday night. But if you don't have Austin Hooper, then you're going to be in a really bad position with your tight end. And Austin Hooper is actually my other start of the week. NBA Jam rules. Austin Hooper is the breakout reel. I think we're going to find out this week. The New York Giants are not a defense that can shut down the tight end position. So Austin Hooper with the double-digit targets the past 2 weeks.
Figure out what week 3 looks like.
Let's
go.
A great question then, and this is a legitimate question. A lot of people will have this situation. Brooks and I on our League of Record had this situation. You lost Evan Engram. You picked up Austin Hooper. They both play Monday night. Both good options. Evan Ingram's in the game. Who are you playing between those two players?
Engram.
Okay.
Yeah, Evan Engram, if you don't remember, I mean, it's been a while. Week 2 was his last full game, and he was an absolute monster, 70 yards with a score, only 19 yards in the game when he was knocked out. But Evan Engram is –
he's a very unique and special talent.
Yes, he is a great pass catcher. He is a great player, and the New York Giants, they need him. They need him.
All right, our final segment of the day. Those were the starts of the week, but more importantly.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Mike's been waiting and waiting, but it's sure time to put in the leg. The Rams' Greg Zuerlein.
What have you done, Jason?
Take that, Mike. Enjoy your boom boom.
If Greg Zuerlein comes out and gets hurt again, I'm going to be furious with you.
Yes.
Locked and loaded, though, Mike. Locked and loaded.
Hey, everyone, Foot Clan, there is a pretty cool new podcast I'm excited about. Look, we all think we know what happened with Aaron Hernandez in April 2017. News broke that he had killed himself in his jail cell. But what exactly happened to kind of turn him into the killer that got him there? Did his football career play a part in that? From the Boston Globe's Spotlight team and Wondery comes an in-depth investigation into the life, legal troubles, and death of Aaron Hernandez. Go subscribe to Gladiator, Aaron Hernandez, and Football Inc. on Apple Podcasts today.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'll be back with more matchups tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, supporting the podcast, and don't forget to check out draft.com/ballers if you want to play some DFS.
We'll see you tomorrow, Foot Clan. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.